Testing one, two, one, two. Good. Live? Huh? I want to say a pleasant good afternoon to you and welcome to the Inveron Country Club, I would say. Sort of got lost in that one. And you're now live on IRITimes.com. You ought to know by now, Mitch is my name from a beautiful sunny side of South Florida. This is a special occasion that we have here this afternoon, and it's looking like it's going to be a good, solid affair. It's so much about the trafficking that goes on in the community and the rest of the world. We like to bring to you live and direct one of the officers from the Lord Hill Police Station. And they're looking really, really good here. So they will come in and sort of talk to you about what this occasion is all about. So we simply just take the time out and want to say good afternoon to you once again. We are indeed live on iritimes.com, your friendly station within the community. It is a great opportunity. So here we go. And yeah, and we have a beautiful set of folks here. The police are out here in full force, and this is a very serious affair. Trafficking, that's what it's all about. So stay tuned to us, and we'll have one of the guys from the Lord Hill Police Station come on live on board. And we see a number of faces that are pretty familiar with us. The commissioner is here, and so many other wonderful folks. And like I said, it's going to be a great affair. So we invite you to stick and stay with iretimes.com. Beautiful Tuesday afternoon, and the lines are forming right now where they sign their names and whoever they are and whatever it is. Privileged to see Brother John T. from WAVS Radio here, and he's running for one of the seats here in Lauderhill. And the brother has been around for 30-something years on your local station, so you're pretty familiar with him. He comes on WAVS at 7 a.m., you know. Commissioner of Police, I met her before.
Yes,
Hi, how are you
have.
doing?
Yes.
Commissioner, what is this all about?
So right now we're having an event to discuss human trafficking. We have several experts in the field that's going to provide information, answer questions, and I think it's very important that the community has knowledge on how serious human trafficking is. I think a lot of people probably don't realize the magnitude. And we have a detective sergeant who's assigned to the Human Trafficking Task Force to assist the state attorney's office in trying to resolve some of these cases. But I'm looking forward to learning myself, being educated, and hearing from the different panelists. But again, what's most important is the community understanding what occurs, no signs to look for, and just have a really sound knowledge on human trafficking and how it definitely impacts us in Broward County.
Thank you so much.
You're
All right, indeed, welcome the Commissioner of Police. And as you can hear what she's saying to us right here, it's something that we don't know much about, but it seems that it's a very serious crime that's happening, especially to our young ones here. And we certainly look forward to be educated on this, because we are not too familiar with what is going on. And certainly we take it for granted that our young ones are well protected and they're looking good. So we'll have another one of the members of the Lord Hill Police Station. Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing? Yeah. Good afternoon to you, sir. And what's your name, sir?
I'm Colonel David Holmes with the Broward County Sheriff's Office.
And where are you located?
I work in headquarters. I'm the Executive Director for the Department of Law Enforcement.
And what this is all about here? Why is this human trafficking so important?
This is important to make residents aware of what's going on. Human trafficking has been a pandemic for quite some time. It's affecting all of us. There's young kids that are being taken advantage of, that are taken from their homes and abused by these traffickers, and it's at all levels and all over the United States. And here in Florida, we're like ranked third in the nation. So it's a serious problem that needs to be addressed. But we need to make sure the residents are aware of it and ways to address it.
Okay, is this the first such meeting that has regarding this?
Well, there's been several functions that have taken place around Broward County. I know last spring I spoke at Miramar at a function, and I got a chance to meet Dr. Laverne Deer, and she's a true advocate of fighting against human trafficking. We have members of the Broward County Sheriff's Office that specialize in addressing those type of issues too. So we just want to be a part of it. Sheriff Tony is one of those that really wants to support the community, and anything that we can do to improve things, we want to step up to the plate.
Very good. And how much the street, the people on the street will be informed regarding this?
Well, that's where the work takes place. We have to make sure that the information is spread throughout the community at all levels, from adulthood to childhood, because these human traffickers try to take advantage of people, vulnerable people that are hurt and that are in need, and they really do an injustice to society, because these people are taken advantage of, and they're forced into that activity, and it's not good for anyone.
Is it local or international also?
It's international, but here in Florida, like I said, we're third in the nation when it comes to human trafficking, and that has to stop. This is a transient state. We have tons of visitors and very commercialized. So those human traffickers take advantage of that, and that's why we have to make sure that the residents are aware, and we can work together with law enforcement to stop it.
Very good. And thank you so much, sir, and it's a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank
Pleasure's
you.
all good. All right. We're live on IRItimes.com, and you just hear the reports that's coming in. And this is a very serious affair that we were not so much informed regarding this. So I want to compliment IRItimes.com for taking the step to have you, the local personnel and the international personnel, to be aware of this situation. We have seen so much on the streets that's happening on the streets, and if there's a reason to correct it, the time is now. So let's move forward. As parents, we have to make sure that we are well informed, especially of our kids in and out of whatever situation they're in. Mothers and fathers, you need to step up to the plate. See, I am from a beautiful little island of Jamaica. I've been living in the United States for a number of years, and I was aware of this situation, but not to the point that it seemed to be right now. So once again, I want to say thanks, IRItime.com, for making this possible. And again, we have a number of entertainers here. We would say Commissioner to be here, and we looked around and we see some great folks here that we just want to talk to and to share the experience that they have. Again, you may not be aware of the situation that's taking place here, especially in South Florida, especially our neighborhood at Lauderhill. And again, we hope that we can make a difference in whatever we're doing. Again, the police officers from Lauderhill is here in the full force. The Broward Sheriff Office is here in full force. And we certainly like to say good afternoon to a wonderful young lady who is totally involved in whatever situation it is. Human trafficking is a very serious affair that we too are not so much versed on this. So here's a fine young lady here. We'll ask you your name, ma'am.
Dr. Laverne Deer, and I am the organizer of the event.
But what make you want to do something like this?
That's a good question. I've lived my experiences, and through my experiences and my knowledge, I have coupled it now to see how I can give back and help to change some of the past experiences. Not just for me, but for others who may be experiencing some of the traumas that leads up to human trafficking and child sexual abuse.
Okay. Now, is the public aware of what is happening, especially here in Lauderhill, as far as you're concerned?
Yeah. They've been notified. I've been getting calls. I'm thankful for IRItimes for being here Other media outlets have reached out to us and have covered it. The residents around Lauderhill, they have been notified and they themselves are here and coming. So I'm expecting a good turnout. Our speakers are star-stud. We have a wide verse of expert subject matter that will be speaking on the topic tonight. So I ask everyone, I'm sorry you caught me while I was eating a candy, but I ask everyone to tune in. If you're not here, tune into your live stream because they're going to leave being well fed tonight.
What about the schools? Are the schools involved in?
Well, in 2018, I worked with the legislators to propose language for a bill to teach human trafficking education in schools. The Department of Education adopted it, so it is now Florida statute. So yes, schools are aware of the danger of human trafficking. Florida is now the first state as a result of the work that we have done to be teaching it in schools. We also did a spin-off where we have a program where we're teaching the youths ages 8 to 14 about the danger signs of human trafficking, and that's the first. And that's going very well, and that's also supported and sponsored by Broward Sheriff's Office, who is here in full force, as you can see tonight. So we're working with the community on all angles.
I want to say thank you so much, and you must have put a lot of time into something like this.
You know what? When you enjoy what you're doing, it's not work. It's my passion. And like I said, my life experiences have helped me along the way. So it's second nature now. Now I just want to keep going every direction that I am led to help educate my community.
Thank you so much. I'm learning from you something that I was never aware of that is happening in this community also.
Oh, very nice. So see, I am so happy that you're here and you're going to learn so much more tonight. So much more tonight. Our panelists are expert subject matters, including law enforcement, regular community individuals that knows firsthand what's happening. Chief Stanley, who have her sergeant who is here that works in the field. So we're going to get some knowledge. We're going to be fed.
And
tonight.
how did you get around to choose these folks on the panel?
It's called being strategic, strategizing, knowing what the issues are, knowing what the concerns are. I work in the government sector, so there's things that I see and understand and know. My work has allowed me to build relationships through the years. So because I know what it is, the message, I have a vision, I have a plan, I have a mission, I'm on a mission. So with all of that, knowing the right people, it helps me when I sit down and put pen to paper to say, okay, I'm going to Lauderhill this time around. Who should be on the panel to speak?
Will this ever get to Tallahassee, the governor's desk?
Well, that's in 2018. That's where we started. The bill that we had proposed then, it did make it to the Florida House, but it didn't pass in the Senate. However, the goal was to get the Department of Education on board, and they did that. So it didn't even need to get to the governor's desk. What we set out to accomplish, we accomplished because the Department of Education, who matters, because we wanted to teach the children and equip them of the knowledge and resources to help keep them safe. So yeah, we've been to Tallahassee, we have held press conferences, we've worked with several legislators, and we were just honored in Tallahassee by Senators Chevron Jones and House Representative Patricia Williams in April. So we're constantly in Tallahassee.
And would you say then that you're satisfied with the results that you're getting?
You know what? I won't be satisfied until not one more child or person is being trafficked. So no, I'm not satisfied.
Oh, thank you so much, and continue your work, and we're certainly looking for great information
Thank you,
from you.
because it's about awareness, and we can't get the word out unless we have support from organizations like Irie Times. So thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, blessing to you. And we got another brother over here that's so familiar. We're talking about brother John T. from area. Brother John, good to see you, my brother. It's been a while, all right? It's been a while. Wait, turn this way, John. We're talking to Brother John T. from the big station. You know the big station locally, right? The big Caribbean station. Let's put it, the only Caribbean station in South Florida. And you're up in the morning at what, 7 o'clock?
Yes, 7 a.m. until 10.
And you've been here for what, 30 something years on the
Next
station?
month's
sir?
been 37 years.
How much have you seen the community change over those 37 years?
I've seen progress. I have had some disappointment in terms of, put it this way, it is more of a diverse community now than when I just came here. But what I've realized, certain parts of Lord Hill, where I live, it seems to be one part is somewhat stigmatized, and that's a concern. But I'm proud to see the diversity of the cities.
Brother John, I understand that you're running for a seat in Lauderhill, so I hope we're going to have some changes on this. Huh?
I hope I can help to make some of the changes because there are people who are trying their very best to make changes, and I can assure you that if I get there, and I hope I will get there, I will make an effort to help those who want to see changes. As a matter of fact, I was asked by the constituents, and that's a good thing when the people ask you, and not that you just throw yourself in there. You were asked to do it because they probably see there's a need for my presence there, and I'm happy to say that.
All right, so once you get in, what would be one of your first major steps that you hope to see changes?
Well, like I mentioned, I don't want to let out too much of my secret. I leave that for the debate because I don't want anybody to take what I intend to do to forward me. But the stigmatization of the community is a concern. I believe in a rebranding of this great city called Lauderhill. So I leave it at that for the time being.
John, we're from the beautiful island of Jamaica. And this trafficking is not just local, it's international. How will you go about changes when you do? I'm not going to say if. I say when you do get it.
This is a subject that to me is rather dear to me. Because as a former police detective, I've had to investigate a number of these cases in Jamaica, where some of the victims are people who are actually in need. And the people prey on them because of their needs. Some of the examples are people who are in prostitution, people who work at the nightclubs, and just people don't have a means of existence. So we have to tackle it from that aspect of the need. And that's where you have this human trafficking going on because the people find they prey on those who are in need. And so this is something that you really have to work on. It's not an easy thing to do because sometimes people around you in your very own community are victim of this kind of a situation you don't even know. So it takes a lot of investigation, a lot of resources to get involved with that. So the main thing is resources.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say congratulations from now because I know we're going to put you in there.
Yeah,
we're going to put you in there.
Thank you so much.
You will indeed make a change in the community. Thanks,
I
John.
will.
All right. Thanks so much, my brother. All right. And once again, I see a beautiful young lady here with a beautiful smile here on her face. And to be in a situation like this, you must have known something about what's going on in the community to want to be a part of this.
Yes, I certainly do. I'm coming from Jamaica, and my organization, Female Development World Organization, is hosting this event. And what our goal is to spread awareness on human trafficking, because it is a serious problem in Florida specifically. And we want to spread awareness and let others know what is happening in the community. So that's why we're here today.
Okay, you said you're from Jamaica. I am also from a little parish called Clarendon. And many years ago, Clarendon was one of the known parishes out there for nonviolence. But it seemed to be escalating, especially in Clarendon and some of the other parts now. And I have a feeling some is also linked to South Florida. Would you say this?
Well, I cannot be sure, but I do know that violence is increasing among our youth in Jamaica. We have a problem that we need to address the unattached youth, and we need to engage them in a real, serious way because we are having issues in that parish as well as other parishes in Jamaica, and we have to take it seriously. And it starts in the schools and with the children.
Have you seen, how long have you been living in this community? Has you seen many changes?
Well, in Kingston, I'm from Kingston. Or Lord Hill. Oh, yes, I lived here for 10 years at one point, and I have seen changes because when I first moved here in 2010, no one had trafficking on their lips. And now it's almost a buzzword. People know about it, we're hearing about it, the warning signs, what to look for in children, especially in West Palm where things exploded with the Epstein issues. So people are way more aware now, and we want to continue to spread it, especially among the youth, and have the parents be aware of what to look out for.
Okay. The general public may be aware of a little bit, but not to the point that I'm hearing right now. How are you then going to be educating the public on the situation is that?
Well, one of our programs, one that I'm very proud of, is what we call a play program. And what we do, we invite parents and children between the ages of 7 to 14, and we have a course where we educate them on the warning signs of trafficking, and we also include some environmental sustainability practices in that session because that's also important to us. We have found that with these natural disasters that are happening, people become displaced and they become vulnerable to being trafficked. So we have that program in Lauderhill, and the Broward Sheriff's Office is sponsoring it, and it is very successful. We just finished one session, and we are planning to do much more and spread it throughout South Florida to educate people.
Okay, so the public out there want to be a part of this. How they go about being involved in this?
Okay, well, the easiest way is to go on our website, fdwo.org, and to leave us a message in our comment section, and we'll get back to them as soon as possible. And you can find us on Facebook, Female Development World Organization, as well as Instagram and Twitter.
And you know, something I didn't even ask you your name, and you were saying you're from Kingston. Where in Kingston?
Okay, I am from, let me say, Ligony, Kingston.
Uptown.
Uptown. Yes. But you know, I work for the government of Jamaica. I work at the National Works Agency. We deal with infrastructure, roads, bridges, and drainage facilities. And I've been a part of this organization for many years when I used to live here in 2010. So we're loving it. We're spreading the message in Jamaica as well. And we're going to start in the schools, similar to what we're doing here. Yes.
So in other words, you are back in Jamaica then?
Yes.
You're working with the same situation in Jamaica?
Yes. I am back in Jamaica, but I'm back and forth. I say I live both places because I'm here today, and I come up when necessary. It's not far, so it's quite possible to juggle both. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Some months ago, an incident took place with a little 8-year-old. Would you want to comment on that?
That one is so sad. It's so sad, and I believe the protocols in the school need to be increased. We have so much work to do in our schools right now and with our youths that I'm sure the government and all the stakeholders are taking the necessary steps to ensure that these things don't happen again. But it is really a jarring situation and has left the nation in a sad tone. But they're trying to find the perpetrators, and I know that they're doing what they can do to correct the situation. Yes.
A little brother here by the name of Mr. Muir, CC.
Yes.
CC. What a man that is.
Yes.
What a man that is.
Great man. Yes, he is very critical to what we are doing, and we appreciate his support so much, and without him it wouldn't be possible. So we're very grateful to him. Definitely so.
Okay, so we want to reach out to you, CG, and Miss Winter, of course.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I've been involved in Jamaica over the years because I used to work in the record industry back there. And one of my first men that I ventured was a late brother called Hopeton Lewis. Are you familiar with that name? Yeah. He did a record back then called "Take It Easy." We're not going to go into that, but he's gone, and some of the memories that he created, because we were members of the Vineyard Town Police Youth Club. That's where we started, and we were spreading the love. But it seemed to be a little bit out of control. Now, will we ever get back to the days when your grandma leave her door open and she's sitting there and everybody pass, Grandma, how are you doing? Will we ever get back to those days?
I really hope so, and I think we can. Definitely, if we put in the work and we have committed people on the ground, in the grassroots communities, we can get it done. Nothing is impossible. I'm looking forward to it.
With faith,
Yes.
with
With
hope,
God's help.
with God's help, we will. He promised he'd never leave you or forsake you. He will be at all times. I want to thank you so much for your time. All right? Pleasure. Let me do this. All right. Hold on. Just in case. Again, all right, thanks. All right. You're certainly welcome. No problem. It's always a pleasure. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Yeah, bye-bye. Again, good to see you, my brother. How are we doing? Huh?
I'm good,
Oh,
brother.
good.
Good. How are you?
Oh, we're blessed in that.
Good.
What brings you here?
Well, this is a great event. I'm the vice mayor for the city of Lauderhill. My name is Ray Martin. And to the fact that we're having this event in the city of Lauderhill to address human trafficking, is definitely an event that I want to make sure I attend.
What concerns you most about this human trafficking, especially with our kids in the schools?
What probably concerns me the most is right now our economy is being very difficult on some of our communities. It's harder for people to find jobs. Cost of living is going up, so it's less for people to get around. And when that happens, a combination creates a need that sometimes bad people do nefarious things, and sometimes those include adults and children, and they're starting to do things for money. And when you start doing things for money, you can get caught out there in the wrong place and wrong time, and it's just not a good situation.
You know, listening to you, what you're saying here, you're vice mayor.
Yes, sir.
And what is the future then for the kids, especially in Lauderhill?
Say it one more time.
What is the future for the kids here in Lauderhill?
Well, we hope they have a bright future. All we can do is put things in place, make sure we reaching the needs of our community, make sure that those families that are struggling, we try to get funding to them and the resources to them so they're not put in a situation where the children or even adult family members can find themselves in harm's way.
How much are the schools involved in what's going on today, in knowledge to the kids?
The schools are teaching human trafficking, which is a good thing. It's helping them recognize when they see something, they should say something. And normally, even adults don't even know how to recognize it. But now we're thankful that our kids are learning the same thing our adults out here are learning. So hopefully we can stop things before it get out of hand.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Thank
Pleasure.
you.
All right.
Pleasure.
And best of luck in the
Thank
lecture
you.
that's coming up.
Thank
All
you.
right. Good. And once again, we're here in Lauderhill at the interim, and a number of great folks are here. So I turn you back now to harrytimes.com on the station. All right.
To the front row. No, not the stage.
Knowledge and understanding too. Love is a key. Love can open any door. So why should there be so much hate? Is that man is a fool to what he do not know? Like my good friend say, man to man is so unjust, and you don't know is who to trust. Be good to your brothers, be good to your sisters too. This was ordained to be done, just like we see the sun. So why should there be so much hate? Is that man is a fool to what he do not know? Like my good friend say, man to man is so unjust, and you don't know is who to trust. Be good to your brother, be good to your sisters too. This was a day to be done, just like we see the sun. Wisdom is free, wisdom is free. Knowledge and understanding too. Love is a key, love is a key. Love can open any door. Wisdom is free, wisdom is free. Knowledge and understanding too. Love is a key. Love can open any door.
Feeling I used to get when we were out at nights, like a smoke from a cigarette.
Good evening,
Oh, it's all gone. It's gone.
Silent or vibrate just during the period of this symposium. Okay. Okay. Welcome to the Anti-Human Trafficking Symposium under the theme Creating Safer Neighborhoods. This gathering is hosted by Female Development World Organization, otherwise known as FDWO, in partnership with Lauderhill Police Department and Environ Cultural Center. The Caribbean Anti-Human Trafficking Committee, otherwise CAC, operates under the flagship of FDWO. It is commissioned by the Jamaica Consulate General to Miami, Mr. Oliver Mayer. One of our goals is to raise awareness for the prevention of human trafficking. Naughty Dr. Dear. Hence why we are here today. We want to spread awareness about the serious issues that are happening in our community. We chose to execute this event in commemoration of Caribbean Heritage Month, celebrating the contributions of Caribbean people in the United States. My name is Moira Williams. I represent FDD Board in Jamaica, environmental advocate, and I'm also a member of the Caribbean Anti-Human Trafficking Committee. Our moderator today is Dr. Laverne Deer. Let me just say that we are thrilled to have you and the panelists to join us for this remarkable gathering of brilliant, experienced minds with innovative ideas to have spirited discussions. We have come together as a community of advocates, professionals, and enthusiasts to explore the frontiers of human trafficking. Florida ranks as third highest state in human trafficking cases and second for labor trafficking cases, as stated by the human trafficking courts in the United States. This symposium serves as a platform for intellectual exchange, fostering new connections, and nurturing collaborations that have a potential to shape the future. Throughout the course of this event, we have curated a diverse lineup of distinguished speakers, experts in their respective fields, who will enlighten us with their insights and perspectives. Their presentations and engaging discussions will undoubtedly leave a lasting impact on us all. Beyond the content, we encourage you to seize this opportunity to connect with fellow attendees, get to know one another, and visit the food stand. We firmly believe that the richness of this symposium lies not only in the knowledge shared from the stage, but also the vibrant discussions sparked during this time. We would like to extend our deepest gratitude to the members of the panel, to all our sponsors, Grace Foods, Lauderhill Police Department, Fresco IMAS, our partners, Environ Cultural Center, Lauderhill Police Department, and the organizers who worked tirelessly to put this event together. We really appreciate you guys. Their dedication and support have been instrumental to making this happen. Once again, a warm welcome to each and every one of you. May this symposium enlighten, fuel your curiosity, inspire new ideas, and forge lasting connections. Thank you. Like to stand for the anthem? Miss Nija Smith, are you here? You welcome greetings from you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nisha Smith. I am a legislative aide for Senator Oscar, representing District 32. Firstly, I want to apologize on behalf of Senator Osgood for her absence today. She deeply regrets not being able to join you guys, as this is a cause that is very sincere to her. She wanted me to come here and assure you all that she and our team, the entire District 32, will continue to champion the cause against human trafficking. She knows that no one should ever have to endure human trafficking. Our office is determined to uphold the rights and dignity for everyone. Senator Osgood knows that human trafficking knows no bounds. It crosses and affects and transcends all communities, and it really targets our most vulnerable. Senator Osgood and our team always have and will continue to bring legislation to the Senate that combats human trafficking, as we did last session and will aspire to do for the 2024 section in January and February as well. Again, Senator Osgood is very sorry that she cannot be here tonight. Please know that her passion for this cause runs deep and her commitment to making a difference remains strong. So thank you all, and thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we welcome Vice Mayor Ray Martin, Commissioner, City of Lauderhill.
Good evening, everyone. I am happy to be here. I'm just going to turn this around a little bit so I can see you all beautiful faces. I am here to speak specifically at this moment for Denise D. Grant, Commissioner Grant. She could not be here. She was scheduled to come and speak with you. Unfortunately, she couldn't come. So on her behalf, she extends her warmest greetings. And as the Vice Mayor of City of Lauderhill, I want to extend the greetings for our mayor and our other commissioner, Melissa P. Dunn, who could not be here, but we also have our Commissioner Jabo Lawrence Martin. You want to stand up, raise your hand? And we want to welcome you to this great city of Lauderhill. This is a great organization here today that's going to be presenting for a great cause. This is near and dear to my heart. My good friend over there, Roger D. Hart, I was there. And if you guys don't know, because you didn't applaud, so let me pause for a moment. Mr. Roger D. Hart, I gave him an award. Well, I helped present the award about 4 or 5 years ago at the same organization for standing up for human trafficking. He is the BSO deputy that has walked from Fort Lauderdale to D.C. and then again from Fort Lauderdale out to California. So please give Mr. Roger D. Hart a round of applause. Stand up and accept your flowers. He is a humble soul than trying to hide back there. But this is great. It's finally this information is starting to become mainstream. They're starting to pass bills for it. These things is not new. This has been going on for a very, very long time. And so the more people that get involved, the more people that get aware, become aware, hopefully we can start stemming this tide that's happening now. I truly appreciate our first responders. You're going to get great information from the panelists today. I know many of them, they have great information they're going to share with you. We're all looking to a collective solution, and so I'm happy to learn and be a part of this, and I'm happy that this is here in the city of Lauderhill, and I hope you all get something to take away from it. Thank you.
Thank you. I welcome Chief Constance Stanley, Lauderhill Police Department.
Good evening. Just want to welcome everybody for this coming out to this important event. I'm glad that we're able to partner with Ms. Deere. It is a great cause. It is very important. We do have one of our own, Sergeant Atina Johnson, who's one of the panelists. So happy that Lauderhill is part of this event, and happy that Lauderhill is part of trying to end human trafficking. So I look forward to hearing from the panelists. Thank all of you for being here, and let's all enjoy ourselves. Thanks. Thank
to acknowledge our online participants, Audrey Budai, who is from the Jamaica National Human Trafficking Task Force in Jamaica. Thank you.
Let's get together and feel alright. Hear the children crying. One love. Hear the children crying. One heart. Saying, give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Saying, let's get together and feel alright. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let them all pass all this dirty remarks. One love. If there's one question I really love to ask. One heart. Is there a place for hopeless sinners who have hurt all mankind? Just save his soul from belief. One love. What about a one heart? What about let's get together and feel alright? Now this wasn't the beginning. One love. So shall it be in the end.
Trafficking Person Task Force in a few minutes. We would like to acknowledge City Manager Desiree Giles Smith. If you would raise your hands. Thank you, thank you. I see we're well represented by the city board here, so we want to thank you for the residents who are in the community for coming out. This is very important, and we thank you for showing your presence tonight. So we're going to start calling, and we will first bring on stage. Mr. Elvis Haynes, and as you go on stage, you will see your place cards. So if you can make your way up, just briefly about Mr. Haynes, if you can make your way on the stage.
Hear the children crying. One love. Hear the children crying. One heart. Saying, give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Saying, let's get together and feel alright.
Bachelor of Science, Criminal Justice from Florida International University in May 2000, and a Master's of Justice Policy and Management from Florida Atlantic University in December 2002. One of my most noteworthy academic achievement was doing a research project on justice reform and presenting the findings and making recommendations in a testimony before the state juvenile justice legislator. We would also now would like to call up Miss Jamaro Tira Poitier. Jamaro is a native Floridian raised in Deerfield Beach, Florida, a proud graduate of Deerfield Beach High School, and the amazing Miss Jamaro, you're on this side. Oh, she's okay. Go ahead. Is the current Director of Community Outreach and Anti-Human Trafficking Coordinator for the Broward State Attorney's Office. Jamara also serves as the current President of the Broward Human Trafficking Coalition. She is the co-author of Amazon's #1 best-selling book, Sister. This is a little blurry, so if you'll clarify that when you give your introduction for me. And while I'm looking for this, I know you see in the room that we're well represented by Broward Sheriff's Office. I want to thank Colonel David Holmes, as I try to find back my bios here. Colonel David Holmes, I met in July of 2022, and Colonel Holmes made a promise then that he will support support and continue to support the effort of the work that we are doing. So we are so grateful and thankful if you will make your way to the stage, but we also want to thank Sheriff Gregory Tony and the entire BSO team for funding our very first play program, the Providing Leadership Through Awareness to Youth, where right here in the city of Lauderhill, we launched it, and we taught 40 students, 40 children between the ages of 8 and 14 about the danger signs of human trafficking, taught them how human trafficking correlates with the environment as well as arts. We have this amazing book that we put together with them, and we couldn't have done it without BSO, so I want you to give a round of applause for all the BSO team that is represented. Next, we will bring up Miss Atina Johnson, Sergeant Atina Johnson. Sergeant Atina Johnson has been a member of the Lauderhill Police Department for over 16 years. Sergeant Johnson is a South Florida native and a first-generation college graduate. She received her bachelor's degree in sociology with a concentration in criminology from Cleveland State University and master's degree in criminal justice from the University of Cincinnati. And since I missed this, I just want to read. Colonel David Holmes began his law enforcement career with the Federal Bureau of Investigation as an intelligence analyst, assigned to the National Drug Intelligence Center. In 1996, he left the FBI and joined the Drug Enforcement Administration as a division investigator. In 1998, he joined the Broward Sheriff's Office. During his career with BSO, he worked road patrol, the Central Broward District, and served on the District Selective Enforcement Team and the Detective Bureau. In 2001, he was assigned to Internal Affairs, where he worked both as a detective and sergeant before being promoted to the rank of lieutenant in December 2000. After his promotion to lieutenant, he was assigned to the Lauderdale Lakes District as an operations lieutenant and later to the South Broward District, becoming BSO's district captain in North Lauderdale in July 2010, and being promoted to regional manager for the Department of Law Enforcement in January 2013. He was promoted to lieutenant colonel in January 2019 and achieved his current rank of colonel September 2019. Colonel Holm has a bachelor degree in international relations from Syracuse University, Maxwell School of Citizenship. He is also a graduate of the University of Louisville Southern Police Institute Executive Leadership Program, completed Nova Southeastern University Executive Leadership Program in 2007, and graduated from the 261st session of FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia in 2015. Next, we will bring up Dr. Nadia Assad. Dr. Nadia Assad has a true passion and history of service in her community. She bridges the gap between cultures and other diverse factors by focusing on common dreams of the community. Some common dreams are improved education, increased economic growth, and an overall improvement in our environment. These dreams are interwoven throughout her personal and professional life. And the speakers will get a minute to speak and give you their personal perspective of their background. Next, we will bring up Ms. Jeanette Brooks George. Ms. Jeanette Brooks George, as a PhD, is an esteemed principal consultant at Unmute Yourself, Inc., where she offers her expertise in various areas, including social justice, education, and combating sexual violence. As a principal consultant, she provides valuable guidance and strategic advice to clients seeking to address complex societal issues. So while we have our panelists here, we have Miss Audrey Budai. Miss Budai, if you would like to come on camera, I would give you this moment now that we have our panelists on the stage, and you can go ahead and give greetings now. We hope you're able to stay with us, but I can tell you, you're on mute if you're speaking. I can tell you this awesome young lady that I was introduced to, she's doing some amazing work to combat human trafficking in Jamaica. We spoke, and because Florida is a border state, there is definitely opportunities for us to work together, and we look forward to seeing how and when and where we're going to get this going. But we just by having her here is huge for us, and we're thankful to have you here, Ms. Budai. If you will please go ahead and address the audience right now and tell us, how is the weather in Jamaica?
The weather is fine. Good evening, everyone. I greet you well. You have had a real good platform, as you said, Madam Chairman. And I really want to, on behalf of the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons here in Jamaica, and our new chairperson, who is Ambassador Stone Group, to give you greetings and to commend the group for keeping up the commemoration June as Caribbean American Heritage Month. It is just so important that we collaborate with each other. And while I congratulate you, I cannot but talk just as a few minutes to bring you greetings from the government of Jamaica, and to say to you that the government of Jamaica remains committed to the thrust of combating the surge of trafficking in persons. Trafficking in persons, as we know and as we are saying now, is also dubbed modern-day slavery. It involves the recruitment, the harboring or transfer of human beings for the purpose of benefit of another individual. And it came to us that your topic and what you're dealing with this evening is just relevant, because if we do not have a safer community, we do not have a safer place, we really will not be able to live a happy, healthy, and abundant life. So this is very important to us. Now, when we look at the whole situation, we find that the most common forms of trafficking that we are seeing are relating to sexual exploitation or use of victims for forced labor, such as domestic servitude. So we have been able to put together what we call a national task force of persons coming from about 25 ministries, departments, and agencies. And this task force, which I mentioned, our new permanent secretary, who is the chairman of the task force, she has been in the diplomatic corps and worked in a number of countries across the world. So it's very interesting in our collaboration. So the task force was set up from 2005 as a multi-agency approach of the government of Jamaica to strengthen Jamaica's legislative, institutional, and operational capacity to combat trafficking in persons. And the task force also coordinate and implement a national plan of action to combat trafficking in persons. The task force has been able over, I think, the last 10 to 12 years, been able to rescue over 135 persons. So we have been quite active, and we're looking forward to the collaboration, because whenever anyone looks, you know that the Caribbean people, wherever we go, wherever you are in the diaspora, we always act in concert with our heritage. We keep our heritage, we share our heritage, and we cannot allow these traffickers to really bring us down. So we greet you well, and we look forward to working with the group and to congratulate you, Madam Chairman, as committee chair for bringing on the greatest safer neighborhood human trafficking awareness and prevention program. We have so much to say, but we will do it as soon as we work closer. We are really want to make sure that we do not have trafficking in persons on our shore for longer than it takes. One child is one too many. One adult is one too many. One male is one too many. And one female is one too many. And to talk about heritage, I think that it's very important that this scourge is moved away from our shore, Jamaica and elsewhere. I thank you very much. I am Audrey Godai, the manager at the Secretariat here under the Ministry of National Security dealing with trafficking in persons. I bid you well. I will stay with you because we will learn and we will grow together. And thank you for this awesome opportunity. And to all your participants, I wish you and bid you well. Thank you.
Very good. We have on the agenda for our Council General, Oliver Mayer, who commissioned Female Development World Organization to start this Caribbean Anti-Trafficking Committee to help raise awareness amongst members of the diaspora. So while we're waiting for him to arrive, Father Ward, if you'll let us know, Grace Ward, who came from Miami Gardens to join the great city of Miami Gardens, Miami Gardens. And he will do the introduction of our Council General when he arrives. So let's get started. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? Yes. So I am so sorry that my back is turned to you, but you know my heart is facing you. So we are here, and the panelists, they are the important ones tonight. So let's give them a round of applause. And thank you. We are going to start. You have panelists, you have 1 minute to say whatever you wish to say to address the audience. And we are going to start with Colonel David Holmes, and then we will go down the line with Ms. Poitier Brooks, and then we'll start with Mr. Kane, and the same thing until we reach Sergeant Johnson, and then we'll delve right into the questions. 1 minute.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. Hello? No? All right, I will speak very loud so everyone can hear me. My name is Colonel David Holmes. I'd like to first thank Dr. Laverne Deer and the Female Development World Organization for having me here. I'd like to thank my BSO family, if you could stand up. Roger, stand up, Roger. Roger, stand up. Don't be shy. I want to thank them for being a part of this event. You guys can have a seat. I just want the community to see how serious we take this issue. On behalf of Sheriff Gregory Toney and our command staff, this is something that we've been honored to be a part of to address this issue. This issue is a pandemic that has affected the entire society. Over the years, we've seen it grow from just a few incidents to a number that we can't even keep track of. We have our Special Investigative Division that investigates these cases at the Broward County Sheriff's Office, and we work with the federal, local, and state agencies to address this issue, and we also work with the Broward County Human Trafficking Task Force. This is an issue that has to be stopped. There's a lot of work to be done. I pledged to Dr. Laverne Deer several years ago that the Sheriff's Office would step up to the plate, and this is only the beginning for us, and we have a long ways to go. But with the community working together, piece by piece, day by day, we have to fight it and never give up, because these are our children and our adults that are suffering, and we got to put a stop to it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. That's better. So I want to thank Dr. Laverne Deer for having me. Anytime that I have an opportunity to talk about this issue is an opportunity that I do not take for granted. This is not new. This is nothing new. This has been happening for a very long time. I've been doing this work for almost 25 years. I've been doing this work. I came in contact with my first human trafficking victim back in 1990, 98. A 9-year-old young lady, little girl from Puerto Rico. Didn't know what I was looking at then, but it turned out to be commercial sexual exploitation, what we call human trafficking, or sex trafficking. I'm not a police officer. I've worked with police officers and police agencies over the years throughout my career in the criminal justice system. I am more so on the service provision side of this crisis, of this epidemic, and which I will repeat again is not new. This has been happening. You know, Nelson Mandela said, you know, there can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than the way in which it treats its children. And we have not been treating our children very well over the years. And we need to do better because our broken children grow up to be broken adults, have broken children who grow up to be broken adults and have broken children, and the cycle continues. And if we don't do better, we cannot expect them to do better. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, esteemed guests and Madam Chairman and members of the community. My name is Jonette Brooks George. I am very happy to be here in this capacity sharing. My role, I would say, is in the role of an educator, one who brings awareness, who creates activism and advocacy around this issue, and one who goes into the community to create allies. Within this realm of human trafficking, we find that the men in our society are the ones that we need to rally behind us and to make changes in the way we operate and how we engage with women in our cultural behaviors. My focus within the realm of modern day slavery as human trafficking is also considered is focusing on the labor side of things and the challenges that come with the labor issues of human trafficking on the western side of our state. But this also includes many of our immigrant individuals, especially from Jamaica, coming over for a lot of the programs they have. Anywho, I am a professor of criminal justice and sociology, so this is something that I also conduct research on and operate within our community. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to share what I know and help us have a conversation about creating policy to stop this human trafficking issue in our state and throughout our region of the Americas. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elvis Haynes. I'm currently employed with Miami-Dade County. I don't know if maybe you're familiar with Violence Intervention and Prevention Division. It's a subdivision of the Safe Space Program, where our purpose is to provide the best possible outcome of service for domestic violence victims, sexual assault victims, and human trafficking victims. So we have 4 locations, all of which are strictly under Chapter 39 statute, is operate under confidentiality and privilege to protect our victims. Prior to this assignment as one of the managers for the Safe Space Division, I did work for the Department of Juvenile Justice. I actually worked with Jamara. I was surprised to see that you're today. I was actually stationed at the Line Probation Office. And interestingly, Ms. Brooks and I were born in St. Kitts and Nevis, Twin Island Federation in the British Caribbean Islands. So I was happy to see her here. One of the interesting things that affected me working in the field of criminal justice, even though I'm not a law enforcement officer, was when one night I was working at the job, well, we call it the J Center here in Dade County, when we encountered a 14-year-old female victim who came in with an administrative hold, which is a pickup order. And then when we do more investigation, she was listed by the parents as a runaway. She was age 40, and I happened to be the staff, supervising staff on duty that night when she brought in law enforcement, and I said, hey, this is a 14-year-old, I'm not going to detain her. What can I do with her? So the officers said that she wouldn't speak, so when we took her in the office, that's when she break down and disclosed that she were recruited by another 16-year-old from Miami to be in human trafficking. She was recruited by another 16-year-old female. She said she was coming home from school in Tampa, and the car pulled up next to her, and the young lady said to her, hey, how would you like to go to Miami to enjoy your cell phone being paid for? You're here, it's being done, you can get the best weed, you can live the most luxurious life. And she hopped in the car and they brought her to Miami. She was discovered by a law enforcement officer actually investigating a murder that took place in Miami, but she showed up in the pictures. So we would, because of digital capability, Jamal with investigation, were able to identify that she was listed as a minor. So this work is very serious. She disclosed to us all the jobs she was hired to do. One of the examples, she said she was hired as sexual trafficking with 14 guys to watch a boxing game when we had the Pacquiao match years ago. So could you imagine that two female, 14 and 16, were hired for 14 days to watch a Pacquiao? Could you imagine what she disclosed to us? So human trafficking is about an average of $150 billion. It's a rising industry. So we got to look at it. It's very serious. And as Jamal was saying, what are we raising when it comes to our young people? And we need to deal with it and provide the best possible protection.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for having me here, and Dr. Levin, congratulations, and thank you for such a great initiative. Thank you all the panelists for being here, taking part of this so important journey. My name is Nadia Azad. I cannot get use of the daughter yet. I attended Miami-Dade College, Workhurst University, Liberty University. I hold a degree in nursing, healthcare administration. Additionally, I have certification in depression, anxiety treatment in youth, mental health ambassador, art therapy, cognitive behavioral health therapy practitioner, and a doctorate in counseling. I speak 3 other languages. I work previously in mental health. I work with Broward School District. I have been going in the community for decades, advocating and helping the community. And what I have seen in regarding to human trafficking, what I have seen in regarding our youths, our wives, our sisters, our cousins, this is what we need to be doing more often, collaboratively, so we can stop what's going on, because it's very much needed. They need us. They need that help. Thank you so much for doing this.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you to Dr. Laverne for having me as a guest tonight at this very important event. My name is Sergeant Atina Johnson. I've been with the Lauderhill Police Department for almost 17 years. My current assignment is with the FBI Human Trafficking Task Force, and I specifically handle human trafficking cases, but we also handle matters of child exploitation to include child pornography, production of child pornography, sextortion, any type of online enticement, anything involving children, sexual in nature. And as it specifically relates to human trafficking, one of the things that we try to focus on is prevention. We do speak at a lot of events and go to a lot of middle school and high schools to let children know that they can be susceptible to being a victim of human trafficking. It's not as, it's not like the movie Taken, right? So these are neighborhood children who may find themselves involved time they don't come from broken homes, but there's a lifestyle that they're seeking, and they find themselves in compromising positions, and so they do fall prey to being victims of human trafficking. We do try to make sure that we build bonds and relationships with the individuals that we recover from human trafficking, because one of the most frequent things that we hear is that we don't help them. You know, police come, they show up, they make arrests, and the victims are left with no housing, no money, they don't have jobs, and so they feel abandoned, and they ultimately, you know, resort back to that same lifestyle because that's how they know how to survive. So we do try to, you know, establish long-lasting relationships so that when these victims feel reluctant to get away from this lifestyle, they can reach out to us, and sometimes we can, you know, help them or have our victims advocates reach out to them to give them some assistance so they don't feel like they have to walk the tracks or, you know, have sex for a living for money. Um, and obviously prosecution, we want to make sure that we put people away, and we put people away for a very long time. The minimum mandatory with the FBI for human trafficking is 15 years. So we try to make sure that we build legitimate cases so that we can put these traffickers behind bars for a significant period of time.
Thank you all for that great introduction and summary of what we're going to be discussing today. So let's jump right into it. Ms. Brooks, this question is for you. We are talking a lot about sex trafficking, and the community hears a lot about human trafficking and just automatically reverting to sex trafficking, but labor trafficking is also an issue. Can you just take a minute to elaborate on the labor trafficking issue that you're dealing with as well?
Okay, great. So before the labor trafficking, we have to also remember that migrant smuggling is another component of human trafficking. So that is usually the beginning stages of the labor trafficking process. We have a few types. We have bonded labor, and then we have involuntary domestic servitude, and we also have debt labor trafficking. So involuntary domestic servitude is when individuals, typically domestic workers, are held in servitude against their will. They're usually not compensated for the work they're doing. They're coerced and exploited, and they're unable to leave the premises that they're in because they're usually smuggled individuals without documentation or documentation that is being held by the owner of the household. Then we have the issue of forced labor, where they are they may have their documentation, but they're in such an area that is away from most of the opportunities and access to communication, where they are forced to work. So we find this a lot in Sebring. We find this over in Immokalee, on the west coast of Florida. Mostly in Sebring, we find the forced labor. Immokalee is where we find the debt labor, the debt bondage, which is they come in with their documentation. They are expected to work to pay off some of the expenses to bring them here, but that debt continues to increase because they're expected to also pay for room and board. So they're working and they're not making sufficient money to pay off the debt, so they are stuck and they're not able to regain possession of their documentation. So these are the three main types of labor trafficking we have an issue with in our state.
Thank you. Let's jump right into Ms. Jamaro Poirier. In 2018, there was a report that was done on the status of girls and young women in Broward County, and it states in Broward County, 1 out of 7 girls experience sexual violence, and 1 in 9 girls experience physical dating violence or will be harmed by an intimate partner. Girls 16 to 19 report experiencing intimate partner sexual violence at a higher rate in Broward
Thank you for that question, and thank you for bringing that to the light, because I'd like to talk a lot about what we have classified as a good victim and a bad victim. And when we're talking about biases in the service industry, and we're talking about the issue of human trafficking and the issue of sexual violence, we must also keep in mind that when you're talking about these issues, and you have a mindset that you are expecting certain things to happen to certain people, and when you don't expect certain things to happen to certain people, the response is going to be different. The response is going to be different. So when you're asking if have those numbers changed, no, those numbers have not changed much at all. I can tell you right now from the quarterly numbers from January, February, and March of this year, we had 35 initial reports coming through the hotline alleging some form of sexual exploitation or human trafficking, and of those 35 calls, 21 of those children identified as Black African American children. So what does that say? What does that say? That says that we have a problem, one, with education, educating our community, not just our young people, but as I stated earlier, you have generational trauma taking place in communities throughout this neighborhood, where you have parents who themselves, at one point or another, had been sexually violated or sexually abused. And for whatever reason, that issue was never addressed. And it could have been because that person was violated by a family member, and you, God forbid, you disclose that, right? You suck that up and you push through, right? Or you could have where, because the victim was not believable enough, the case didn't proceed as it should have proceeded, right? Or you have, because that victim was pressured by either family or community members or the church to recant, it wasn't addressed. And so you have people growing up with this trauma, having children, and raising these children in this trauma, right? And so what happens is it's repeating itself over and over and over again. When we are talking about identification, you can't identify something if it's not reported, right? So just because someone, when they report it, if they're not believed, it's not going to count. So I go back again to my statement. We have created this idea of what a good victim looks like and what a bad victim looks like, right? And because of this, we have this high number of Black and brown children that are being violated and victimized on a daily basis. And by the time, at young ages, and then by the time they come to my attention, or they come to Sergeant Atina Johnson's attention, or they come to my counterpart's attention here, they're so far gone and they're so far in, you've missed 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sexual incidences already. You only have that one in front of you.
One of the things that we see as an issue is, number one, awareness. And I think my fellow panelists have kind of touched on that. We have to make sure that the community is aware that this is actually occurring. Because there are people that are naive about what's occurring. They need to understand what to look for, because there are tons of signs out there. I think that we tend to ignore it as a society for various reasons. I think sometimes you have victims that fear retaliation. They fear that some family members may be harmed, and they're very hesitant with coming forward. For us in law enforcement, we have to utilize all the resources, all the tools, number one, to make sure that people are aware that this actually occurs and what the signs to look for. I know just recently, about 6 months ago, I myself and one of our strategic investigative division unit members went and spoke at a meeting of hotel executives here in South Florida, with it being a tourist destination. And we had very big events that take place here, i.e. Super Bowl, Grand Prix, spring break. People utilize this location as a destination to engage in human trafficking. So we have to make sure that not only those in law enforcement and people in the community, those in the work industry, in the hotels, in the restaurants, they're aware if someone appears to be a victim. We send out pamphlets, we do educational services, we make sure that people are paying attention to the little things. But working together with making sure that people are aware, and those in the service industry, come to us and provide us with information, and the victims feeling comfortable coming forward is the key to addressing it for us as a law enforcement entity.
Thank you. We're going to go right into Sergeant Atina Johnson. If you can now bring it down to the city level and help us to understand what are some of the challenges you're facing here. Is it prevalent here in your city? Because a lot of times residents believe this is happening overseas or somewhere else. So can you bring it home to the root of the city here?
Yeah. So there's human trafficking in every city. We see some city officials, politicians that are reluctant to believe that they may have trafficking in their city because maybe it's a wealthy area. Their median income may be $100,000 a year. But I can assure you, it doesn't matter what the neighborhood or what the demographic or race population is. There's human trafficking everywhere. We have it in the city of Lauderdale, just like there's every city here in Broward County has it. You know, it's not easily identifiable. When we speak about children that may be in the foster care system, those children are more likely to be trafficked than children and community children. The foster care system can be a revolving door. A lot of these children have been in and out of group homes their entire lives. They may have parents who have their parental rights terminated. They don't have contact with family and friends. Their parents may have substance abuse issues or mental health issues, and it's not far-fetched, and it's very likely. Most of the times, they find boyfriends who may be in some illegal trade, whether it's drugs or something else, and they kind of get roped into this lifestyle because they don't have anyone else to care for them. Right. So they may need housing, they may need food, and they have these men who are generally older that lead them to believe that they'll take care of them, and that they love these girls, and so they start a process of grooming them. And, the next thing you know, it's, well, we need money to pay bills, to pay rent this month. Can you have sex with this person for this amount of money? And it becomes a lifestyle. And they say the lifespan of a prostitute is 7 years, and it's true. Whether you develop some type of severe mental health issue, or you become addicted to drugs, or you are killed by a trafficker, it happens every day right here in Broward County.
Yep.
A recent case that I'm involved in with one of my partners with the FBI, we have a case of a 16-year-old girl. She lives in Hollywood, and she has history with Child Protective Services dating back to 2008. One would think she probably would have been removed from her home by now, but she wasn't. So many substantiated reports of domestic violence in the home. The mother has substantiated drug use, and we received an anonymous complaint from someone that we later identified that the mother had trafficked the daughter, starting from when she was about 12 years old, and that the daughter was engaged in a relationship with an older man. So, daughter's now 16. She's kind of been involved with this guy since she was about 13, and he's 25 years old. He's currently in jail, awaiting trial for a murder that he committed in Dania Beach in December. And sure enough, there's jail calls. They have a relationship. They love each other, allegedly, and the mother is the target of our investigation. And what Jamaro spoke about is true. So those generational curses will form in a household. And so the mother is a substance abuser. She's addicted to cocaine. She's been using drugs for a number of years. And so we drug tested the mother with Child Protective Services last week. Mother's drug test comes back positive for cocaine. And today, we did a forensic interview with a 16-year-old at Bayview Police Department, and we drug tested her on the spot. And she tested positive for cocaine and marijuana. So, very likely that her mother is definitely trafficking her. Her mom was obviously aware that she's engaged in this sexual relationship with this guy that's 25 years old, who's pimped her out, who she was pregnant from, and who's now in jail. And she still maintains a relationship with him. So these are the types of cases that slip through the cracks every single day. There's really no legitimate reason that she should have been still living in the home with her mother all these years, with the history that they have with Child Protective Services. She hasn't even been in school in 5 years. She hasn't attended school since she was 11 years old. And she's a Broward County student. She wasn't homeschooled from birth. And so when you look at how did law enforcement not know? Law enforcement's been in her home hundreds of times. There's history with Child Protective Services. There's history with DCF. There's a child that died in her custody, from SIDS at the age of an infant. And how did school officials not know that you have a 16-year-old that hasn't been in school since she was 11 years old? So, there's a lot of cracks in the foundation, and sometimes it just takes one incident to kind of bring it to light, but it's really like everyone's responsibility. And you can't lay blame in one place. And so this is one of hundreds of kids in Broward County. This is not an anomaly. It's not necessarily every day that you see where a mother may be trafficking a child, but it definitely happens. And even if it's not a mother, these are the types of kids that live in this community. And we've identified other youth that she knows who are also victims of human trafficking with verified cases. It's very popular. It's certainly popular amongst teenagers. The youngest victim I've seen was from Lauderhill, and she was 11 years old. 11 years old, born HIV positive from a mother who was a drug user. And she meets a guy in Lauderhill, and he takes her to a hotel in Fort Lauderdale, and she's trafficked for about a week. Fortunately, those people were identified. 2 of them have already been arrested and sentenced federally to 26 years and 19 years, but there's no age limit. She was 11. She didn't look like an adult, but she didn't look like necessarily an 11-year-old. But these kids exist everywhere, and it's really everyone's responsibility to identify troubling behavior and things that look problematic and report it to the proper authorities. And maybe they don't do anything the first time you report it, but you keep, pushing the limit, because eventually the bow will break and something has to come so that we can get these kids in a safe place.
Wow. Thank you so much for shedding some light. I hope those who are in Lauderdale are now educated and understand that if you were not involved before, find a way to get involved and move forward. Dr. Assad, and we're getting questions. We're streaming live compliments of Irie Times. We want to thank Irie Times for streaming this event on YouTube, Facebook, and IrieTimes.com. There are questions that's coming in from YouTube, and we're going to also take some questions from the audience as well. But before we get into the question, Dr. Assad, our nation is facing a mental health crisis, from rising rates of depression and suicide to an alarming increase trafficking impact the physical and mental well-being of its victims, and how does someone seek help?
Mental health and trafficking, you will see that they goes hand to hand. That's a very good question. To begin with, the traffickers, they usually target population that are either poor, that they can see that have troubles home, you name it. So they target the most vulnerable, population. We have that stigma that mental health doesn't exist, especially in our brown community. If it's happened, it's probably somewhere, maybe because the kids had some, tantrum. It's never mental health. And it's something that we need to take seriously. The awareness part of it is one of the crucial part that we need to target. Because people doesn't understand that anybody can have a mental health issues. Mental health varies. It goes from depression. It goes from, anything that can be like a trauma. Growing up, being a kid, something can happen and trigger it. Those are the people that the traffickers usually target. I work with Broward School District County, and in the school, we do have counselors for those that seems to be troubled. Remember, when we're doing those assessments, you have to take a look inside of the house as well. It starts there. We do need our teachers, we do need our counselors, we do need our assistant principal to look after her kids, but it starts home. Parents and family members usually they tend to ignore what's going on with their kids from the start of the behavioral that they can they could have addressed at the early stage, but unfortunately, like she was saying, they fall through the crack. Again, like she was saying earlier, education is key. Education, education, education. If I don't know how, if I don't know the signs, if I don't know where to go, because people tend to think that education is about the degree. No, it's about knowing how to use that microphone. It's about finding out where I'm going to find these resources to help my kids. Something's going on with them. So we need to be on the task constantly, like you were doing, Dr. Liverin, with all those programs that are available, and make sure that the population knows about mental health and about how to identify those traffickers that are after her kids or families.
Thank you for that response. And before, I'm going to go next to Mr. Keynes, if you can talk a little bit about your experience in the Safe Space program. But I want to acknowledge Ms. Carol Cook, who is the Director of Broward County Crisis Intervention. I believe she's still here. If you're here, Ms. Cook, if you can just raise your hands. If not, she was here.
There she is.
Oh, yeah, she's there. Thank you, Ms. Cook. She's the Director of the Broward County Crisis Intervention. And when we talk about resources, her department would be the department within Broward County to provide resources. It also includes a Nancy J. Cotterman Center, for those of you who may not be aware. Mr. Keynes, I know you're in Dade County, but in that Safe Space program, and I know I heard you on a forum recently when you were talking about the migrants that are coming in. I know there's a recent law that is due to be in effect in July 1st that will affect individuals who are migrants and coming in and reporting. Can you talk a little bit about that real quick, and then we're going to go to a question from the audience, and then we'll go back to Colonel Holmes.
The Safe Space program in Miami-Dade County is equivalent to what you call Women in Distress here in Broward County. So initially, it was created to provide services for domestic violence victims and their children. So we have now branched out to access the federal grant money to provide additional services. So we did, in the past couple of years, got an additional grant to provide services for human trafficking and sexual assault victims. So we have, within Safe Space program, we have a sexual assault unit, the advocates, and we also have a human trafficking unit But under the Safe Space umbrella, we accept all of those clients within the Safe Space program for purposes of safety. So as I mentioned earlier, our locations are considered a shelter location, but in all 4 levels, we accept all domestic violence victims and children, human trafficking victims, and sexual assault victims. What we are experiencing that with the new law that is going to affect on the horizon that was recently passed in Florida, which is pertaining to immigrants and the strictness thereof, and I'm sure many of you have heard about it. We are in a situation of a bit of confusion as to whether or not, how would we be able to provide services to victims who are in our care, because part of the new legislation is saying that you can shelter homes that if you have anyone who is illegal in your home and your location, you could reach up to a felony level. So the staff right now we are asking questions. Dr. Deere would we be able to serve victims who are illegal, considered legal in the state of Florida, and provide the same services that we have always done in the past. For example, one of the funding that we have is a relocation assistance, where we are able to provide homes for victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking into a safe home environment. So they can go out and find an apartment, or we can pay to relocate them to another state for safety reasons. But now we are in a situation that we would not be able to use the funding Dr. Deere if they do not have legal status. So the staff is confused, and also we have the victims themselves, as they hear about it amongst themselves, and they're coming, they're asking questions. Would we be safe? How would this law impact us? So what we did, we reached out to a group of attorneys from Legal Immigrant Justice Organization to provide a training for the staff. That would be held early next month to see how we, as a program, could continue providing service to them. Remember also domestic violence victims were covered under the Chapter 39, but this is a new law. So, for example, if I take a victim the next month to Jackson Hospital who comes in with severe injury, that person now has to disclose to Jackson Hospital their legal status. And that creates an issue in terms of paper and all these things coming to fix. So yes, there's some confusion. Would we be able to use our funding to safely relocate them? That we don't know yet. So what we also did is to combine other domestic violence shelters to advocate for them, to go to Tallahassee and say, hey, these are the things you missed. Could this be amended? What are we doing? So there's a little bit of progress here to lobby our lobbies to reach out to our state senators and state representatives to say, hey, this is what's happening. This is the confusion we are facing. Could this be amended, or what legislation changes could be made so that we can continue providing services? Then you also have situations in the shelters where someone were married to someone or bring them from another country, and they held that immigration process legal status over the victims. As to why I report you. If I report this sexual abuse, if I report this physical violence abuse, this financial abuse, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to report you to immigration. So we also have coercion cases that are raising concern and confusion among the staff, and a lot of questions are coming from the clients that we are serving. But right now we are advocating, we are reaching out to the immigrant justice attorneys to come in and provide a training for us so that we are readily prepared. As of now, we are not going to start taking any victim, regardless of what. Because, for example, if immigration officers come to my facility and the staff call me, I'm going to tell them you cannot enter. Strictly, I'm going to still use Chapter 39 statutes which protect domestic violence sexually.
Are they protected under that law?
No, not with that current law. So those are things that we are asking our advocates who are in Tallahassee to lobby. We are using the new I don't know if you remember that the Florida Association of Domestic Violence board was dismantled, so there is a new board. So we are using them also to advocate for us also in Tallahassee to get the changes needed so we can continue providing effective services, and safety is our main concern for all of our victims.
Thank you, thank you. We can take a question from the audience. Does anyone in the audience have a question? Dreamy, did you have that question from the attendee on YouTube? We have a question right here.
Is it working? So, I have a lot of questions, of course, but I think the first question to ask, after hearing all of your presentations, is what is the solution to the problem? And I know it's obviously not that simple, and there's no one solution. But if we could identify what the 50 people or the 100 people who are participating online, what can we do? Sure, I heard, reporting is one thing, but I think there's a lack of awareness. Certainly for myself, I speak for my experience. I don't recognize trafficking in day-to-day life. How do we recognize it? How do we report it? How do we make a change in our communities if we are? I personally am not aware, and I believe most people I know are not aware. How do we become aware of its presence, and how do we report it? How do we stop this?
Go ahead.
Well, and I'll say this much because I know a few other people want to touch on it, but I would say that there is a community awareness aspect. There's a National Human Trafficking Hotline number. You can call them, text them, email them, and report human trafficking to them. You can report it to your local police department, and I want to say there is a new
Florida hotline number.
As well. I would say from a law enforcement perspective, we definitely need more training on our end, because those of us that work specialized cases like, rape, SVU, child exploitation, we are trained in this area, but most of our road patrol officers literally have no idea what to do. They often don't know how to respond to human trafficking. They may not think that it is a big deal. They may see a lot of these children that are trafficked as, habitual runaways and problem children, and they don't take the matter seriously. And that's another way that these children fall through the cracks. Our foster care system is broken. When a lot of these youth run away, the staff just reports that they've returned. They don't ask questions. They don't try to figure out where they've been. There's really no follow-up on their end. And so it's really like a multifaceted approach to resolving it. And it's law enforcement. We fail victims. And I know people don't want to say that, and we don't want to take responsibility, but we do. We failed victims. The Department of Children and Families, they failed victims. Parents have failed victims. So it's really everyone needing to recognize that we can do something better. Our mental health partners, we've let children slip through the cracks for decades, and they grow up to become what they've seen. And, it's only been in recent years that we've stopped arresting children for prostitution. I mean, a child cannot consent to sex.
That's right.
But we were literally arresting children for prostitution that were being trafficked by adult men. So that's just been recent. So when you look at law enforcement's approach, like the police were arresting children for prostitution. And
So Sergeant Johnson just literally kind of explained to you all what needs to be done, and we really need to approach this on a holistic level. This is a human rights issue. This is a heart problem. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Sergeant Johnson basically just said that the approach should be holistically. This is a human rights issue. There's no one thing. I mean, when you posed your question to the gentleman down here, and you said, yeah, we can report, but like, what do we do? What do you do? What you do is care. You have people. You can train people. You can put up all the signs. You can put up all the QR codes in the bathroom. You can do all of that. But if nobody cares about what is happening to that person, then it's a moot issue. This is a human rights heart issue. People have to care because it's going to take a holistic approach. The systems that have been put in place that are supposed to protect and serve, and I'm not just talking about law enforcement, I'm talking about mental health systems, I'm talking about hospitals. I'm talking about when you have trafficking victims that go into hospitals that are presented to the hospitals by their trafficker with their ocular bone cracked, with their jaw broken, with their nose busted, with their retina detached, and nobody is asking the right questions. Even though you go through all of this training, but because you may be getting off shift, it might be time for you to go home, or you may have had a long day, you don't see the humanness in this person. So what happens is that you have a trafficker that's brought their victim into the emergency room because they just beat the brakes off of them, right? And they need to get them medical attention because they need to fix them up because they got to put them back to work. And you're allowing the person, you're addressing your question to the person that brought them in and not acknowledging the person that is hurt and not paying attention to the fact that every time you ask this young lady a question, this person answers for them, right? So it's about paying attention and being observant. You know, people talk about the elephant in the room. Well, nobody cares about the elephant in the room until the elephant starts stepping on people. That's when people start caring about the elephant, because you'll walk around an elephant all day and people pretend like they don't see things all the time. But when it steps on you or somebody you love or somebody that means something to you, then it becomes an issue and it becomes a problem. So we have to start looking at people from a human standpoint and start really understanding that, you know, just because I don't have an emotional or a blood connection to that person, what happens to that person still matters because they're still human. So education, great. Training, great. But what are you going to do with that information? Once you receive the information, you become accountable. What are you going to do with it?
If I may, if I may add, I think that was a great question that the gentleman had. What are the solutions? I think it's a two-pronged approach. And just adding to what she stated, I think there's some social issues that we need to address. We need to make sure that society gets involved. We need to make sure society has programs to minimize the poverty issue that we have facing us. Because a lot of these human traffickers prey on people that are in need. And a lot of these victims figure this is their only way out. They can't see above where they are. So I think we need to address that from a society issue. The other prong approach, I think we have to get serious with punishing these human traffickers. For us in law enforcement, we hate to see a revolving door. We hate to see the individual involved in this crime out in a month. That defeats the purpose. You know, the victim gets victimized again because the laws aren't harsh. If you think back to, I think it was the late 80s, everyone that lived here in South Florida, you remember the bump and robs down in Miami that used to happen every week, and how it addressed, it hit tourism. It hit South Florida in the pocket. You know what? Tallahassee came up with these strict laws, these harsh punishments, And when they started putting those people in prison for life, it stopped. When was the last time you heard of one? We need to address this human trafficking issue the same way. We need to send a message to these human traffickers. And I think that two-prong approach can be part of the solution, at least a start in solving this issue.
So really quickly, just one quick interjection. Great question, and a lot of times when these questions are asked, we give all this information that seems overwhelming to the audience. So I like to keep it really simple. Each one of you came to this event because you understood there's a problem. The first thing you need to do is truly believe that this is a problem. It's an insidious issue in our community. Take this information and empower others. And then the next thing you need to do is amplify this conversation. Go to your churches, go to organizations that you're in, and have individuals like us who understand this topic come in and share so you can bring awareness, communal awareness, and then work together to transform policy, transform ordinances, go up to Tallahassee, as Mr. Keynes talked about, and make noise about this. That's what you can do. We don't need you to go out and become certified and qualified. We need you to bring those folks, us folk, into your community to have these conversations. The major issue that Jamara touched on and we've all touched on so far is belief. No one believes this is really happening. No one believes the victims when they come in. No one cares to take the time out to truly listen and understand the story.
But Dr. Day, could I add something to that question very quickly? Well, one of the things that for the solution that's working for us is the whole building partnership and the collaborative approach. So we work with law enforcement. So when they call a safe space program, and you would never see a charge for prostitution because we have a relationship with the state attorney's office. So we are going to guide them because sometimes law enforcement are busy with the criminal aspect of it. So when they call us, we know exactly, hey, instead of prostitution, this is a minor, could you put them on an administrative hold, take them to the job, process them before a judge within 24 hours. If the parents is not accessible, they cannot be released to nobody but this year, or they have to sit in the job or come to us so that that person is protected. So we need a whole collaborative approach as a solution and to support the law enforcement officer, but have connection with the state attorney. Train your staff as to the guidance to the law enforcement officers who are very busy. So what is a good solution is to build a partnership, train the staff and a collaborative approach. Helps them.
Thank you. The audience is itching for questions. We have our Counsel General that is here, and we have to talk about this open carry law that is about to take effect because we're talking about creating safer neighborhoods. So guys, just bear with us. We're going to take your question. Go ahead with your question.
Good evening. Blessings on all. This topic is immense, and I'm coming from a 32-year nursing background, and the experiences there, we've had roadblocks in going from the victim that we perceive as a victim, but not knowing how or where we can go or what other avenues we can at least steer someone into this. Sometimes we have a lot of private time with the victim or I call them my patients, but you can do something then or say something then, but you kind of close-lipped because you don't really know what's the safest and the best way, or you don't want to cause more of a conflict for the person. We need this in hospitals is where I'm going with this, okay? We see it first or we see it next, but we can help there. They don't have to come back 10, 15, 20 times, and then sometimes at the point of death or even at death before it gets to the officers showing up or being, called in. Now it's too late. Even children, babies, they can't say anything. Okay, so that's my heart, my passion, my concern. Now, my one question is, I'm from a Caribbean island, and we don't have a lot of access to help in the system. You guys know that this isn't just a U.S. problem. It's everywhere. However, when the kids disappear from here, they go somewhere. They show up in a Caribbean island. What do? Where is the chain of command? Where is the chain of connection? How far reaching can we get this to so help can be, pertinent? And this is something I'm passionate about, and I need to kind of be involved somehow to get,
Can I answer that for her? You're from the Caribbean. May I ask you where exactly?
The Virgin Islands.
Okay. So you know that thing where they say it takes a village?
Yes.
Okay. So this is almost what we're doing right now. The only thing right now, we need to have a real collaboration. Real collaboration where I know that I can count on you to pass on that message to them, to the SO right here, to the counselor right here, we don't have mental health, sometimes on Indo Island, but we pass it to the proper people that we know that can help. The other thing that we need to do is prevention. Prevention how? Is start from home. Make sure that we teach all children, all people, what's going on out there. Don't help, because we, the Caribbean people, we tend to keep information between ourselves. There's certain things we don't talk about, we don't say this, we don't say that, but they need to know. If they don't know, they cannot prevent, they cannot protect themselves. So it's collaboration, prevention, and let me tell you something, we do have to really work together, because otherwise...
Cultural competence.
Exactly.
But it doesn't start at home because you have so many broken homes.
Exactly. We have to continue, yes. We need to empower them afterwards, exactly, to deal with the trauma and everything else. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I know he's talking about fine because he was like, okay, my turn, fine. Because y'all in the room.
Greetings, everyone. Let me piggyback on some of the stuff up here. I consider myself a reasonable, good listener. What I've heard a problem that we have that is well defined. I don't think this problem is good. Piggyback on my friend, solution. Rain is coming through the roof, you fix the roof. You go where it is, it might run with you, it might fall here, go there, you spend some time, get your engineers and you fix the problem. All I'm hearing is excuses. I'm going to ask a question. Is there any racial tone attached to this kind of behavior? I think, what's your name, man?
Jonette.
No, the next person.
Oh,
tomorrow?
Okay,
You gave us some statistics of 30 and 25 of the 30 were black girls.
No, so in Broward County, what I like to call, we count our children here in Broward County. So we have a process set up here in Broward County where we have what we call multidisciplinary safe harbor staffings, and that came about through the safe harbor law that was passed here in Florida, which was much like the safe harbor law that was passed in New York many years ago. So at our safe harbor staffings that take place 2 Thursdays every month, at those staffings, we review information that has come in through the 1-800-96 abuse hotline where there have been allegations of sex trafficking, commercial sexual exploitation, or grooming, labor trafficking of kids in the county of Broward. So we track those kids, we track those calls, and we produce statistics. So the numbers that you heard me read were quarterly statistics, and those were for the month of January, February, and March. So between January, February, and March, we had a total of 35 calls that came through the 1-800-96 abuse hotline that alleged some form of commercial sexual exploitation, grooming, or sex trafficking, or labor trafficking of a child, male and female. Of those 35 calls, 21 of those calls were for black children that identified as African American. The number of African American children that are verified or may be substantiated or not substantiated is always has been
and is always significantly higher than any other race in the county. Why is that? A lot of different reasons. One of them is because our children, we have a high representation in the foster care system. Secondly, there is an enormous lack of cultural competency in this county when we're talking about identification, addressing sexual abuse, sexual molestation, incest, inappropriate relationships with a child, and commercial sexual exploitation. So remember when I said again, good victim, bad victim? Usually the black and brown girls are the bad victims, right? And you don't tend to rush to help a person that you consider to be a bad victim, right? When people are from, and I'm not telling you what I think, I'm telling you what I know. I've been doing this work for almost 25 years. I just look this young, but I've been doing this a long time. I'm telling you what I know. When you are from a specific area in Broward County, there are entities in this county, and I'm not talking about like, oh, because I'm not here to pick on law enforcement. I got a law enforcement background. I'm talking about service providers. I'm talking about medical that expect certain things to happen to certain people because they look a certain way or they're from a certain part of this town. So there's no outrage. There's bias. And there's bias. There is bias. And people get really pissed off at me for saying that, but it is what it is. But there is bias. Right. 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 But what you have. Right. Are you talking about the immigration law? Right. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. And so. Yeah. 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 Mhm. Mhm. Well, we have an answer. Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
That does not help the solution of the problem. It does not make any sense. That's stupidity 101.
I agree. I absolutely agree with you.
Social science 101 says all human beings are learners.
Mhm.
And if we teach them properly and care for them properly.
That's right.
And parents, you need to know where your children are 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, where your 10-year-old kid is, your 8-year-old kid is. We don't know where they are. Thank
Yeah.
you. No, the flag is not for that, but let me just, I am a pro Jamaica, and thank you so much, but
Yes.
let me just, thank you for your question.
Yes.
Let me let
Yes.
you know that Broward Sheriff's Office, for the first time, funded the play program for that reason. When FDWO proposed, listen, when we proposed the problem, we did not expect that it was going to be approved, but we wrote it specific to educate children between the ages of 8 and 14.
Mhm.
Someone mentioned that their youngest victim was at age 11. When we presented that to some of the community leaders, one individual response, I don't want to teach my children about sex trafficking. And this is
Yeah.
a person who has the responsibility of educating children.
Mhm.
So it's, we can throw things as much as we want, but
Yeah.
the ignorance lies within us as
Yeah.
individuals, and we have to address
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely.
Good question, and thank you, but we are addressing it by teaching our children and equipping them with the knowledge that they need.
Yeah.
Go ahead with your question.
Good evening. I'm Mae Smith. I'm not sure if this is going to end up being a question because y'all have truly messed me up with this information. I am a person who do care, and I feel it in my stomach tonight. I've been in the community for 25 years, working in all different areas, I met Adrian Reese with BSO about 20 years ago.
Ah,
She
Andrea
introduced
Reese.
us into the human trafficking
Yes.
leadership 23 class. I had no idea human trafficking. I was thinking it's just them working kids in a factory or something or in fields. She said, no, Miss Smith, it's about prostitution and all that. And I said, wow. So guess what I'm hearing? If we're using that language, human trafficking, a lot of us have no idea what you're talking about. And so therefore we have no interest in it. I had to go back to my seniors and tell them about it. So I don't know if your material have more layman terms that we will understand, labor law, prostitution. We understand that really clear. And I'm really surprised, to be honest with you, because I'm ignorant to it. Because I thought, as I travel down 6th Trunk to go to work every day downtown, I don't see prostitutes hanging on the corners. So I assume the problem is gone because we got HIV, we got COVID, we got all this stuff. Ain't nobody trying to do this stuff. And then I'm coming here and I hear you guys talking about it. So we definitely need to get on the ball and make sure that the community is aware of not just the word human trafficking, but what does that entail and how is it affecting our community. And I look forward as I go to take that seat next year to work with our Chief Stanley, who's well capable, I believe, in making sure the stuff that Sergeant Johnson talked about, that our officers are well trained to be able to take care of this problem. And I'll be there with you guys when it happens. Thank you.
All right, we'll take one more question and then we go back to the panelists and then we have our council general that we are going to have speak for a minute. So go ahead with your question.
Okay, Lady May, you have just echoed my sentiments. I just want to find out if you have universal communication, non-verbal communication, that you will utilize for people when they are in the company of their offenders, that they can use that non-communicating language to alert the public that they are being trafficked. So in addition to that, knowledge is power, and lack of knowledge, the people perish. So we just need to continue to teach our communities in small areas and branch out so that people will be more aware of what they are up against. So the question is, what universal, non-verbal...
I don't want to say that because are we still streaming? I don't even want to give the hand sign because are we streaming? Yeah, are we streaming? I don't think that's safe.
That's not safe.
I don't think that's safe.
So there is a hand sign, and Jamaro was saying, yes, if we are streaming, it is something that we don't necessarily want to be made aware to everyone.
It's
but
not
there
safe.
is a universal hand sign that we can have that conversation, I guess, offline for safety reasons, so we can protect the victims. And then to the topic, the question that asked before you, yes, that's why we use the term modern day slavery, because we found, as Dr. Deere was speaking to earlier, when we were running the play program, I was one of the educators, we had pushback because we used that terminology. So we talked about modern day slavery, we talked about the issue of boundaries and understanding boundaries with the young children and the parents.
And language, I just want to add, language is very, very important. How you're, especially you, and you have to be very cognizant of the audience that you're talking to when you're using certain words. Like specifically for the school board, for some reason, I don't understand why the school board thinks that children aren't having sex in their stairwells. I don't know what they think the kids are doing over there, but they don't want you to say the word sex. Okay, fine. So what happens is that when you are doing these presentations, when you are raising awareness and when you're trying to educate, it's very important for you to be mindful of the audience at that time. And then you just have to be very, very careful and very articulate in making sure that you are presenting language that particular audience would be able to relate to, relate to and will feel comfortable going back, having a conversation with. I just want to give a shout out to Kara Cook real quick. With the Nancy J. Cotterman Center. Nancy J. Cotterman Center is our primary human trafficking direct care service provider in Broward County. Please advocate for them to get funding, stop funding these people, getting these people money, giving these people letters of support, and they get these money and they don't do anything for these victims, nothing. So let's advocate for NJCC to get the funding that they deserve. Shameless plug. I'm sorry, Carol.
Thank you so much for such an informative panel and discussion. I wanted to start off that way. I wanted to also introduce myself. My name is Kylie Eubanks. I'm the founder of Bringing the Globe, which is an education technology community platform. And one of our annual conferences that actually started our platform is called Operation Stop Cyber Harassment. So we've worked with Broward Sheriff's Office, and I see Mr. Morrow, you are a keynote speaker at our conference last year, so thank you. So it's wonderful to be able to see some of the synergy here. A lot of the work that we do is focused on identifying online threats and the intersection between online threats, internet safety, as well as threats that happen in real time, in real life in our communities, crime prevention. So my question for you is, what are some of the trends or some of the patterns that you see as it relates to online social media usage and human trafficking? What are some of the trends that you've seen increase, especially during the pandemic? And if you could shed some light as it relates to this issue. Thank you.
So we met with the FBI. Well, the FBI gave me some information as it relates to a lot of the cyber crimes and a lot of the social media activity. There has been an uptick, and I'm pretty sure Sergeant Atina Johnson can attest to this because she's at the FBI building every day. There has been an uptick in sextortion. A huge uptick in sextortion, which is resulting in children committing suicide in very high numbers. And so what is happening, what we are seeing, to address your question as it relates to social media, I know one of the main platforms that is being used is that gaming app Discord, which for whatever reason people think that just because it's a gaming app, predators are not interested in it. But you can go into Discord and have conversations and create all kinds of relationships in there. And a lot of male, and when I said an uptick in sextortion, I'm talking about male victims, male teenage boys, okay, who are getting pulled in by these predators and are exchanging, inappropriate, pictures of themselves. And what's happening is now that the predator has the picture, they are extorting money from these children. And when these children can no longer afford to pay, or gets to the point where they're being informed that these images are going to be distributed, these children are taking their lives. It's even so bad, going so far is where they don't even have a full body picture of the child. They just have the child's picture, face, and they'll Photoshop the child's face to a nude image. That's just how bad it is. And so I don't know if Sergeant Johnson wants to speak to that, but there is a huge uptick in that particular issue. That trend is what's happening a lot right now. And they are targeting males, and they're targeting males from middle class and high class families.
Most of the sextortion scams that we come across are done by Nigerian scammers. So they identify these young boys. They report themselves to be some girl at their high school or whomever. And these young men that are in middle school and high school send images of their private parts. And these individuals are ready to expose them, send them to all their families and friends, everyone at school. And sometimes they will go to their parents and tell them, and they'll report it to the FBI or the local police department. But we've also seen a number of times where these young males will commit suicide because they don't want to face the embarrassment. But a lot of the suspects of sextortion scams are Nigerians, and it's coming from overseas accounts. It's a little bit more difficult to track them down for obvious reasons. We do see some cases where locally, some person may not like his child and they will do it, but most of them are coming from scams.
And this is why we need to be having conversations with our children about how they are responsible for their safety.
And if I may add to that, at the Borough Sheriff's Office, we have our SID unit. We have several subject matter experts here, or right here in the audience. We are fortunate that we're one of the larger agencies, and we have the resources to investigate those type of cases. Social media is a serious issue here. These criminals utilize that platform to take advantage of our youth, and they do it in a number of ways. And that's something that we're fully aware of. We're utilizing our resources. We're working with other local entities to address these issues. But we have to make sure that the parents at home and the adults at home are paying attention to their children and what their children are doing, because these criminals are quick to take advantage of them. And like Sergeant Johnson stated, some of these kids, the sextortion issue, are committing suicide because these fraudulent photos to get money from these families. We see it each and every day. Our SID unit, like I said, they've been working these type of cases for quite some time. And but we got to ask for the family members, the parents, the relatives that see these kids engaging in relationships with these culprits, these criminals, to step up and do something.
Can I just go back to the question that the gentleman asked earlier? To answer and chime into the question that you asked earlier, we have to, like you said, create new policies, hold our leaders accountable. The reason why is because never to forget that this trafficking issue is a big business. It's all about money. More than $50 billion a year that those predators are getting from that. And you'll be surprised who is behind those kind of activities. Our government, exactly. So then, yes, you're right. We need to keep them accountable and create new policies.
That one, I wanted to go back to one of the questions about communication that the lady asked about.
We have one last question in the audience, if you'll make your way to the mic. So make it, go ahead.
Quickly, one of the things that we developed with AT&T at our Safe Space program for communication is we now everyone have a cell phone, so we do have a text line for victims now. That because they can't have a conversation with the perpetrator, so we did develop a partnership with AT&T. So we have a text line that goes directly to our hotline calls. Yeah, every ship has someone that access that text line and respond to that person's cell phone alone, so that when they're in a safe place, they can get away without even having a verbal conversation.
All right, last question, go ahead, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Didier Francois, and I was born and raised in Guinea. So thank you, Dr. Laverne, thank you for all of the panelists who take this time out of their busy time to help us, to educate us about human trafficking and mental health issues. Even though human trafficking and mental health issues are still taboo in our communities or in my community as a Haitian. But today, I've been working for Henderson as a mental health clinician for 7 years. So I realized that mental health issues and human trafficking are linked together. Mental health is not a joke. People might think it's a joke, it is not. It's real. And before I ask the question, let me make that confession. I don't like that because, I'm sorry. I don't like that because anytime I have a question, you keep answering my question, Dr. Nadia or anybody else, but it's okay. Thank you so very much. So my question is, do you think that, so we do have human trafficking from international to now it's not only happening in Broward County. It comes from even Haiti, my country. So now the first question is, when they arrive here, those migrants or people who have been victims of human trafficking, so do they have somewhere they can go for mental health treatment and for proper medication or for proper treatment, I should say? Because if you are here, you don't have health insurance, it can be a problem. And then the second part of the question, do you think that can be solved unilaterally, or do you think the United States and other governments from the Caribbean have to have a sort of agreement to resolve this?
Is that your question?
The first question?
Yes. The migrants.
Yes. They don't have, they don't, our clients are victims that come to us. They don't have to have any type of health insurance. All of our clients that come into our facility, they don't have to have any type of insurance to seek care of us to provide care for them. Because what we do is that we develop partnership around Miami-Dade County to provide the services to us. So some of our service providers actually comes to our facility, and some of our participants, we call them, we don't label them as victims or clients, they can go out. So once we provide that referral, they will receive the care. So we do have a wide range of service providers that we develop MOU with, and we can, our clients are taken care of without health insurance. And also, we expanded it to health, physical health, and also child care services. If they have children who are victims, we will provide the care for them free of charge.
Thank you. So we have our Council General here. As you're talking about collaboration and relationships, we saw that you had someone from the Ministry of National Security that was on earlier. And that's the goal of the Caribbean Anti-Trafficking, when our Council General was wise enough to see that there are individuals here that are affected and individuals that are coming through the border from Jamaica as well as through the other diaspora state. So I wanted to just come up and give a few words, because he's very visionary to commission this committee, which is why we have this platform now. And as we talk about more support, let's talk about funding also, because it takes money. These traffickers is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and if we're not having the proper funding for organizations and resources to do the work, then we're just going to be here again next year talking about the same issue. So, Council General, can you just
Thank you very much. Sorry to be late. I had to take an emergency, but happy to be here. And I was warned, I won't tell you by who, but a certain gentleman warned me and said, Council General, don't be long. We only have a couple of minutes. I would never call out his name, but welcome, Father Ward. Good to have you here. Pleasure to be here. In 2019, while attending to a particular issue, I was called upon. At the consulate, we cover 13 states, and I'm also happy to report that I'm the current Dean of the Caribbean Consular Corps, which currently we have about 12 islands, 12 countries involved. But I was called upon to deal with a matter that was happening in one of the in Georgia and involving human trafficking, and I said, oh my Lord, I have no expertise to deal with this. So I called the one name I was aware of, Dr. Deere. We had a meeting, and I said, listen, we need to start something to build some awareness, and I would love you to form a group and start working on this. And I want to publicly commend Laverne Deere for her work. She has literally run with it, and I want to thank her committee, who meets almost every week. I'm a part of a WhatsApp group. I can publicly confess that I have done nothing more than just talk to Laverne. She's done everything with the committee. So I'm so proud of the work, and it just speaks to sometimes the power of sticking to the right people, because this involves collaboration, and everybody here plays a critical role. I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you for taking the time. As one gentleman rightly said, he could have been elsewhere, and he was so articulate on the mic. My brother, well said. But I want to just quickly highlight, the Lauderdale Hill Police Chief Stanley, who is a good friend of mine, and we're going to have a conversation after about another matter. It's Audrey Budai from Jamaica's Ministry of National Security, who was so happy to hear that we were having this conversation, because they're having this conversation back home. They have a committee. So to hear that we have done the heavy lifting here in the community, we've pulled together a committee that meets on a regular basis. They were so excited to hear this. And so I looked very good as Consul General, even though I had very little to do with setting it up. I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you. That's Cheryl Winter. Please give her a round of applause. It's always good to have support at the office, and if I didn't give her a round of applause, I wouldn't hear the end of it tomorrow, right? But thank you very much, Cheryl. Lauderdale Commissioner Mr. Ray Martin, officers of the Lauderdale City Commission, Lauderdale Police Department, the Broad Sheriff Department, members, of course, of the Board of the Caribbean Anti-Trafficking Committee, our distinguished panel of experts, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I just want to thank all the partners for being here. There's work for all of us to do. There's work to be done. I was just 2 years ago, I was approached by DB Records. They had produced a song that was on human trafficking, and we spoke about that the fact that this is a global issue. It involves everyone. God forbid one of our family members was involved in a situation like this. We would immediately realize how urgent the matter is. And so I implore us to see how we can get involved, how we can become more aware. The conversation is just starting. But I remember from the first thing we had at the consulate, awareness is one of the biggest steps. Just bringing awareness to the community and bringing collaboration. So with that, I want to thank everybody again for being here. And we're just at the start of the road. There's work to be done. We all have a role to play. So again, thank you for being here, and let's give all the board and the panelists a big round of applause. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the panel. And thank you, Dr. Laverne and all the CG for, sponsoring and making sure this conversation is happening here. I will tell you just from the legislature, and I heard a lot of the questions, the concerns, and the panel who are experts and who have been in this arena for a very long time fighting, Jamora, I think is the name. I've heard her name for over the last 15 years being a resident here. I've heard her name circled in many circles, and Colonel Holmes, the same thing on some of these issues. But let me tell you, it was SB 7064 that is going to be signed in pretty soon. It's not that I don't think legislation is hearing. I think we need to more people need to come and shine the light
When Dr. Laverne came to Tallahassee, she started a conversation because not many people have come to my office advocating on what the need for the recognition that human trafficking is a problem. I remember sitting in the chamber one day and hearing one of my cities, there's like 8 people in 1 month, and I'm like, huh? And so I was glad when I saw Dr. Laverne coming, and I was really grateful to be able to share her with other legislators to say, hey, she wanted to have a conversation. She was ready to have the conversation and say, I'm here to fight. So I'm saying as residents, what we also need to do is realize it's not a one-man fight. It's an everybody fight. And if we all make or come on up, talk to our legislators as you see them, talk in your district if you're not in this city, if you're not in this district, talk to them and let them know that you are concerned about this issue like we are. And gratefully, we have done legislation now that is, as of July 1st, they have strengthened what the penalties are for human traffickers. So now human trafficker is a 3rd-degree felony. Before it was a 1st-degree misdemeanor. So now it's a 3rd-degree felony. It's going to be as of July 1st. So that's a step. So any one step is a step. And so if we continue pressing on legislatures to say, hey, it is here, it's an issue, and we want to protect our kids, we want to protect all our young babies. And I'm sure a lot of people want to protect their babies. So let's have the conversation continually. And thank you again for all the work that all the people in this room have been putting in for a very long time. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing, because you are the real champions. Yes, we get to press a button and say yay or nay, but ask us, make sure, bring those policies, because someone will hear. Now I hear there's a reporting issue. Let's start crafting policies about how reporting happens.
Yep.
And so then at least we can, let's now ask, I know Dr. Laverne said she's going to ask about the money arm of it for education when I spoke to her in Tallahassee. So the more we're asking, we'll keep knocking on the door. Something is going to open. Because legislature, there was 116 votes on this last bill. Everyone supported that human trafficking bill. The legislature, the House. So that means there is an opportunity. So I'm going to ask you to please continue the conversation, and thank you everyone for all that you are doing.
Okay, so we are, wow, I am fed. I am fed with knowledge.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Same to you. Thank you.
Awesome job. But as we close out, this is a question that someone pressed me that I needed to ask because we have law enforcement in the room. July 1st is when the new open carry goes into effect. With all the issues that we're currently having now with our community, how will that affect us in the fight that we are already struggling to fight?
Lord Jesus. That's a
Well,
loaded question.
just to clarify, it's not necessarily open carry. It just removes the stipulation that you have to get a concealed weapons permit. So all of the other things are still in place. You cannot be a convicted felon. You can't carry a firearm in certain settings. I know that you can't take them in federal buildings, on school grounds. So all of those things are still in place. It just removes the requirement that you have to get a concealed weapons permit, which includes like a safety aspect, because now people don't have to have training. Anyone can just go purchase a firearm, do their waiting period, and so there are definitely some.
Mind you, I had to
And
go
there's a
to-
misconception
I had to
out
go
there.
sit in
Everyone
class
thinks
all
that
day.
we're going to be like Texas, the Wild Wild West. No, you still have to have it concealed.
Yeah, it has to be
It's permitless carry. That's basically what it is. It's not open carry. Okay, so that's the misconception.
So they still have to be
as you stated.
concealed. You just don't have to have a permit to carry a firearm. But you still have to. You cannot be a convicted felon. You cannot openly carry, and there are still certain buildings where you can't take a firearm. So those things will still be in place.
So, to Sergeant Etina and Detective Holmes, I'm going to ask a question so that the audience is clear. It is not open carry. They're not required to go to the class and get the training to understand the laws. They have to conceal it. How does that affect you when you have to do traffic stops? What is the challenge that you're going to have now in the community?
I can tell you this from a law enforcement perspective. I think most law enforcement officers don't like it because we don't know who we're dealing with when we conduct traffic stops, when we come up on the scene. Really, it's based on an honor system. Mm-hmm. How many people are going to be honest with the laws? So it's very dangerous for us. It's risky, but it's the law now, and we have to deal with it accordingly, and we have to make sure that we're properly trained, and our ears are open, our eyes are open, paying attention to all the details. But we have to take extra precaution.
So previously,
That's
if
crazy.
you had a firearm,
That's crazy.
you're not required to get a permit. So you could legally carry your firearm in your vehicle as long as you had it stored in a safe place where it was not on your person. So obviously, those provisions are not going to be in place anymore, so, because they don't have to have a permit. So they could legally carry their firearm on their person, and so it, removes a safety barrier for law enforcement. So they obviously don't like it. More people will definitely have firearms because one of the nuances with getting a permit is that you have to do the training, and then you have to go take your photographs and your package to the Department of Agriculture. So there's all these steps, and even if you were a law-abiding citizen, it's like getting a passport. It's a lot of work. And so some people thought it may have been too cumbersome, so they never went through with the process, so they don't have a firearm. Well, now those people can get a firearm, and it just makes it so much easier. So, there are some great parts of it, but there's going to be some other, negative consequences from that law as well.
No, I just wanted to ask the officers a question, as you asked that question, because I do have a serious concern being blackmailed, because I had a very negative experience that I experienced with law enforcement on my way to work, just because I had a brand new vehicle, and as an open carrier and be taken out the car, what plans are in place to police the blackmail, and when this law is going to affect, and what training they're doing, or what are the consequences that we as blackmail have to look forward to when we are responding to officer, as she said, in traffic stop our concerns. Because I do have a concern, because I was on my way to work, and I still think about it daily, and if it wasn't for my ID that came out of my pocket when they searched me, I don't know what could have happened.
I would always advocate for someone to tell law enforcement if they're carrying a firearm. I do it when I'm off duty, if I'm stopped. I just think in that situation, it's safer because you've given full disclosure, so there's no surprises. And you can let them know that you are a law-abiding citizen. You have you're legally authorized to carry.
If I'm given the chance to speak.
Exactly.
Yes.
True.
Well,
Exactly.
obviously, we know that traffic stops can go sideways very quickly, but I would always suggest that you give full disclosure to law enforcement.
I think the biggest thing is cooperation. Most law enforcement officers are on high alert when they do traffic stops because you don't know what you're coming across, what you're going to be dealing with. But effective open communication kind of calms the situation down, and it allows an officer to methodically think clearer and prevents things from getting out of control and escalating.
And an officer who is not dressed in law enforcement undercover, do that take, what's your response to that? Because I don't know. If it's in an unmarked car, they're not.
It doesn't matter whether they're in uniform or undercover.
Because in that case, I'm going to protect myself because
well,
I don't know.
let's make it quick, make the response quick.
If you feel like you're being stopped in an unsafe location, you can go to a safe place. But they still should have some type of police insignia on if they're conducting a traffic stop.
No, I was just going to add to that. There are protocols whether you're in uniform or in plain clothes. There are standard policies in conducting traffic stops. So an undercover officer shouldn't deviate from that. So it should be handled the same way as a uniform officer.
Thank you. Good question, Mr. Keynes. So as we wrap up and we're going to have our closing remarks, I wanted to acknowledge Environment and Cultural Center for being such an amazing host and partner. And we're going to give her the opportunity to come up and just say hello. But I just want to leave some last minute notes that it is everyone's, as the topic of this symposium is about creating safer neighborhoods, and it's everyone's responsibility for doing their part. Safety is the most essential human need. Some communities are safer than others. Get to know your neighbors, looking out for each other. Community-based safety, get to know and understand your community. What is happening? Who's around? What are some of the good things that are happening? Report crime as soon as possible. The National Human Trafficking Hotline, it's there, but how many of you see something and just not say anything? Report, report, report. Keep your homes lighted. Host community gathering. Let's go back to creating that village, okay? Have a park cleanup and invite the children and let them participate. Create section leaders. Invest in shared green spaces within community gardens. Respect each other's space. Most importantly, we all have a group for something. Why not create a neighborhood group? Why not create a social media WhatsApp group amongst each other? It's going to start the solution, as we spoke about the problem so much today. The solution begins with each one of us as an individual. So let's do our part. I want to thank each and every one of our panelists who took the time to meet with us today and share your expertise. As you all can see, this should not be the end. I am hoping that our play program will continue. We were able to do it in the city of Lauderhill. We would hope to take it to other cities within the entire state of Florida. We are going to continue to knock on the door of our legislators until they get tired of us. That's what we as advocates do. So we want to just thank you all. Take the time to get to know each other, and let's protect ourselves, let's protect our children, and let's protect our communities. I now turn the mic over to Dr. Rosemary Lewis, who we would like to bring up Ms. Barber. No? Well, she said no, but we thanked her already, and we would like Dr. Lewis to do our closing remarks.
Good evening again. What a lovely evening. I know you have been very comfortable, but just stand for a moment. Feel the vibe. Stretch your arms. Say this was good. It was good. It was good. Thank you for being here. It is my, no, you may sit. You may sit. I just wanted you to stretch. It is my distinct pleasure to say thank you to everyone here this evening. What an awesome evening we've had. First, we must give God thanks for what He has done, the knowledge that He has brought to us, opening our awareness so that we can see more in our community what are the signs and symptoms of human trafficking. Caribbean Anti-Trafficking Committee, operating under the auspices of the Female Development World Organization, FDWO, commissioned by Jamaica's Consul General, our Mr. R. Oliver Mayer. Thank you for all that you have done for us and continue to do. Thank you. Special welcome, sir, and to your staff for always keeping us in line and educating us where we need it most. Ms. Cheryl, kudos. To Ms. Audrey Budai from Jamaica, National Task Force Against Trafficking in Person, thank you for your involvement. You're not here, but I know that you're watching us live. Our lovely panelists, thank you for being so informative. Point well taken. It will not stop here, and we will disseminate your information throughout the community that will help us to grow so that we can do a better job of recognizing human trafficking. To our sponsors, Grace Foods, Lorna Hill Police Department, Fresco Ye Mass, thank you for the wonderful refreshments that you have provided. To our partners and organizations, the interactive audience, thank you, you're good. Some very powerful, yeah, go ahead, clap yourselves. Powerful questions. Our elected officials, those who are present and those who were not able to be here, we thank you. Commissioner Denise Grant, she's not here, but she's one of our powerhouses. She really supports us. And in her absence, we want to say thank you. Colonel David Holmes and your team from the Broward Sheriff Department, words aren't enough to say thank you for always supporting us and always being there for us when we ask any favor. We thank you. To our caterers, much gratitude. To the IT department, our photographers, Dreamy Riley, from the live streaming, members of the media, Coral Cook, director from Broward County's Crisis Intervention, our own Mr. David Muir from the Island Space Museum. Go ahead, give him a hand. And any other photographer in the room. Madam, I do not know your name. What's your name? Oh, a part of Dreamy Sea. Okay, very good. We're happy to have you here. Okay, Cultural Center. Thank you for this lovely venue. We are so thankful and humbled to have hosted this event here, and we're looking forward for even more. I hope that I have not missed anyone, but if I do, blame it to my head and not my heart. I love you. Have a good evening.
So I'm going to ask our panelists to please come down to the front. We'd like to take a group picture, and then we'd like our BSO to join us after we take a group picture of the panelists. Panelists, come down, please, and we'll ask our photographer to come up and take a group picture, please. And then for those of you who are here, if you want pictures right after we're done with those two, then we can take it with individuals.
If you don't stay, press on, they will behind you. Find your man, mad as can be, mad as can be. Hey, heal me, everybody. Talk about you. Talk about you. Let them talk. Nothing you can